3-2. There it is! The Washington Nationals are world champions for the first time in franchise history.
The Washington Nationals have finally done it. They have made the World Series and they won it on their first try. They have brought a World Series championship back to Washington after 95 years. Welcome to episode 1 of the Anything Can Happen Baseball podcast. Today we'll be talking about the World Series, Gerrit Cole Game 7 post-game interview, the Trey Turner interference call, and much more involving the World Series champ, Washington Nationals. First news topic, of course, the World Series. When it came to this World Series, a way to describe it would be surprising. Not counting the 2016 World Series, this is the most historic one I can think of in recent memory. The Washington Nationals have made the World Series for the first time, and they've won it on their first try. A team that nobody would have thought would have made it to the postseason at the end of May. They were 19-31. That was the story of the Washington Nationals. Throughout the whole postseason, throughout all the World Series, all you would hear is 19-31, 19-31. And it just shows you statistics don't count for emotions. I believe when it comes to emotions, that drives a person to be able to do stuff that on a normal basis you wouldn't be able to do. And it showed with the Washington Nationals, when at the end of May they turned it all around just to make it as the number one wild card and then defeat the Milwaukee Brewers, who were another sort of surprising team without Yelich. Then the big almighty Dodgers. We thought, that's it, it's the end of Nationals, this is going to be the easiest one. But they took the Dodgers all the way Game 5, and then the 10th inning happened. Howie Kendrick steps up to the plate, hits a bomb off Joe Kelly, and hits a grand slam to end the Dodgers' World Series hopes. Following that, they go against the St. Louis Cardinals, and they just ran through the Cardinals in 4 games, like if nothing. Then, of course, comes the Houston Astros and the World Series. Everyone, of course, has their money on the Astros. I wanted the Nationals to win, but, of course, I didn't have all the faith in them. Little did we know, this World Series had an away field advantage, and the Nationals made even more history by winning every away game, including Houston winning theirs, and this becoming the first series in any major sport in America for the away team to win every single game. Nationals win Game 1 and 2 in Houston, to everyone's surprise. Then Houston wins Game 3, 4, and 5 at Nationals Park, to even more people's surprise. At this point, it just seems like it's over for Nationals. They return to Houston to win Game 6, and then the decisive Game 7 happens. Houston is up 2-0 in the bottom of the 7th. Greinke, to even more people's surprise, is having a gem of a game. He's been bad, to say the least, throughout the postseason. He's supposed to be Houston's third ace pitcher after Verlander and Cole. He just hasn't been himself, it looked like, until this game at least. Then Rendon hits a bomb off him. At this point, they're still up 2-1. Then Greinke walks Soto. At this point, AJ Hinch takes Greinke out the game. So everyone, of course, is going to think, okay, you take one of your ace pitchers out. You have your best ace pitcher, Gerrit Cole, in the bullpen area. So, of course, go for him. He brings out Will Harris. Howie Kendrick goes up to bat and hits a bomb off Will Harris to take the lead 3-2. And that right there was the beginning to the end of the Houston Astros. Nationals won the World Series 6-2, Game 7. Nobody expected that. I love how the Nationals celebrated like they deserve it. They were the biggest underdogs in baseball this year. They were 0.1% chance of winning the World Series at the end of May. And they did it. the best part of them is the rally song, Baby Shark, because Gerardo Parra's daughter loves the song. So that just became their little theme song or rally song. Now, when it comes to MVP for the World Series, I feel like it's a tough one for that team. You have Rendon, who hit bombs, and he's in the running for NL MVP. You have Soto, of course, the youngest player on that team. He was 20 throughout most of it and then turned 21 like in game 3. He is going to be good for the future. And I get like a Bryce Harper vibe from him, but not as toxic as Bryce Harper was. And that also shows it doesn't matter how good you are at a sport, just your personality can bring down a team. Once he left, you just look at the Nationals celebrating, and it's hilarious. They are seriously the dad team of baseball. Kendrick and Eaton love cars, so they celebrate with cars. And their rally song is Baby Shark. That's all you have to say to describe them. At the end, Strasburg wins MVP, which I am okay with. I feel like that's right. He had a 2-0 record in the World Series. They didn't use him back in 2012 because he was like injury prone back then. But they took the risk this time and it worked out perfect for him and them. Speaking of people with bad personalities, Garrett Cole's post Game 7 interview just showed his true colors. He was wearing his agent Scott Boras hat instead of the Houston Astros cap. And he said he doesn't represent them anymore. He represents himself, basically. You just lost Game 7 not even half an hour ago, and you already just disown the team. Like, we know you're going to free agency, and we get you mad because you just lost the World Series because your manager didn't put you in, who's the best pitcher. But no, that personality, I don't want the Marlins to get you now. I don't care how good you are. You're just terrible. You're going to bring a toxic personality trait to any clubhouse that you go to. The Yankees are in the running to get him because money, they have all the money in the world, and he likes the Yankees, it seems like. So they could take him. I'd be fine with that. It's just that personality type. It's not right. He should have spoken as a Houston Astro. I don't care if you just lost and if you're the best pitcher. Stop complaining and represent the team at least until the next day. AJ Hinch showed also in his interview like he was on the brink of crying. He made a mistake by not bringing Cole, and that just cost him. But now we gotta see where Houston goes and where Garrett Cole goes. Hopefully not here in Miami. Because, yeah, he's... I don't know. What do you guys think of Garrett Cole's post-game interview basically disowning his team just because he became a free agent and he's one of the better pitchers? Put your opinions on what you think of that. Now to the thing I really wanted to talk about, the Trey Turner interference call in Game 6. What was that? What I don't even know what to say at this. Like, I would have said he's safe. If you look, first off, he's a right-handed batter. What do you want him to do? Run on the outside so he has to turn and take a longer run to first? The call wasn't that he was running inside. The call was it was an interference call, which still, by the account, I wouldn't have called it an interference call. Gurriel's glove hits him in the back. Basically, what happened if you look at the video? Trey Turner was in the way of Gurriel, and he interfered with Gurriel catching the ball. But Turner was running. I agree, he was running on the inside, but he turned with enough time into the bag that Gurriel just dropped the ball. That's literally and figuratively what happened. Trey Turner should have made it to second, safe. and none of this should happen. And then the best part, Joe Torre was there. If you look at a video on MLB and if you were watching live, Trey Turner was literally saying, "He's right there. He has his head down. There's Joe Torre." Joe Torre is the president of baseball operations, I'm pretty sure. He runs the umpires. He could have called the play right there on the spot what happened. Instead, he waited till after the game and they interviewed him. He gave some BS excuse. He literally could have said anything and it would have been better than what he gave. I feel like this offseason they have to review that type of play and just fix how they call those types of plays. Because Trey Turner, by realistic account, he should have been safe. He should have been at second base. But they called the interference call and it was a out. That would have been the end of the Nationals right there if Rendon didn't hit a bomb right after. But the umpires are lucky that Rendon hit that home run. If not, they would have gotten so much complaint, so much everything. And I would agree that they deserve it because that was the biggest BS call that happened in the World Series. They almost cost the team a win from the stupidest call I've ever seen. What do you guys think about the interference call? Keep this in mind. It's a right-hand batter. He's running on the inside of the line. They called it interference because he got in the way of Gurriel's glove, but he ran on the line as he got close to the base. Leave what you think. Moving from all the negative of the World Series to the positive, the Washington Nationals parade and celebration was great. It was hilarious. Brian Dozier has become one of my favorite players just from how he was acting. He was either drunk or out of his mind. When an interviewer asked him earlier in the parade how he felt from 1 to 1,000, he was like, 1 in 1,000, baby! And just lifted the guy and ran off. Even the interviewer was like, I don't know what just happened there. Then when they were celebrating on the stage after everyone talked, he just started dancing to the song Kadma, which was also one of their rally songs. He took off his shirt for no apparent reason, and then got on mic and said his wife was gonna kill him. So at least he's having fun, which that's exactly what the Nationals should be having right now because they made history. They went from 19-31 to World Series champions, the dad team. Even Scherzer was showing like happiness, and we know him as Mad Max. Like he's a lunatic, but he was having a bunch of fun. Strasburg, he mentioned post game of the World Series that when Para and some of the other Hispanic players joined, they would make him dance. Strasburg was the more serious player on that team, which was sort of surprising. Adam Eaton did a segment at the Nationals too, in which he called the other players on the stage to say whatever they wanted to say. One thing was Trey Turner said, "Who wants Rendon to come back?" And of course, massive cheers from everybody. Dave Martinez talked and he brought up the rest of the team to stand there with him. One thing and earlier in the season was they fired one of the coaches when they were going 19-31, and Dave Martinez was one of the people that could have been on the chopping block any moment, along with him, many of the players. And then that's when they turned it around. Most of them got a turn on the mic. The oldest players like Kendrick, Scherzer, the middle guys like Rendon, and of course the baby shark of the team, Juan Soto, the future of the Nationals, it looks like. Each of these players have like their own little story, which I'm gonna get to most of them. But like right now, Juan Soto, just a few years ago, he was a Dominican kid on the island, and he inspired many when this off season he just was going off. and they would show all the kids in Dominican Republic viewing the Nationals and just watching Soto going off, hitting home run after home run after home run in the World Series, being the youngest guy on that team, and inspiring them that one day that could be one of them. They could be the next Juan Soto or the first of their type. He really is an inspiration for a lot of the young kids, a lot of the Hispanic young kids, mainly the Dominican kids. And when I say he has like that Bryce Harper feel to him, it's just like he is hyper. It's not that he thinks he's the best, but if you just look at him, if you throw a ball at him, he will do the Juan Soto shuffle, which anyone that watches baseball or the Nationals or the World Series would know what that is. And I remember another major moment in the playoff. It was actually in the wild card game when he got that hit that took them into the actual playoffs. When he did that 3-run hit and he continued past second knowing he was out, but he didn't care because that's it. They got the lead. He locked the lead for them, and that was the end for the Brewers. Soto did that. And the one thing with Soto you would see throughout the World Series, he had Garrett Cole's number. He's the only guy that would continuously get a hit off Cole. Not only that, but home runs off of him. It's a miracle if you could get a hit off of him, little less a home run. So Soto played a major part in the Nationals World Series win, and I wouldn't have been surprised if he got World Series MVP. Moving on from Baby Shark and going back to the Nationals World Series parade, they actually ended it with Baby Shark doo 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 doo. I hate that song, but as a rally song for that team, it's great. And in reality, I feel like they should have a Baby Shark aquarium next season at that stadium. That would be great and would make so much sense. Next for the Washington Nationals after the parade was to go to the White House, and Sean Doolittle was the first National to say that he's not going. His reasons being there's a lot of things, policies that I disagree with, but at the end of the day, it has more to do with the divisive rhetoric and the enabling of conspiracy theories and widening the divide in this country. At the end of the day, as much as I wanted to be there with my teammates and share that experience with my teammates, I can't do it, Doolittle told the Post. I just can't do it. He also gave the reason of Trump insulting a handicapped reporter and him having a brother-in-law who has autism and his wife has two mothers who are part of the LGBTQ community. So he just felt that it's not right for him to go. And he doesn't want to hang out with somebody who talks like that. Rendon, Robles, Michael Taylor, Javi Guerra, Joe Ross, and Wander Suaro also didn't go. I expected a lot of the Hispanic players to not go. Robles was on my list. I was surprised that Soto went, but the biggest surprise came when Kurt Suzuki put on a MAGA hat and began to give a speech at the White House. And then him and Trump had a Titanic moment when Trump came from behind and gave him a hug. So yeah, that happened. I'm also a little bit surprised that Dave Martinez went, considering his family is of Puerto Rican descent, and that's the reason Alex Cora didn't go last year, because of how Trump treated the Puerto Ricans after the hurricane. But aside from the White House visit, their celebration seemed good for the team as a whole. But time for celebration is over, because now it is time for contracts and the offseason to begin. So far, Strasburg has opted out of his 4-year, $100 million contract for a bigger contract with the Nationals. The original contract was 7 years for $175 million. It's expected that hopefully he re-signs with the Nationals, like they give him the amount that he wants, and he's able to come back. Along with him, Zimmerman and Gomez, the team option was declined by the Nationals. Zimmerman was supposed to get $18 million, and Gomez was supposed to get $9 million. Zimmerman is expected back for a shorter contract as a veteran, and Gomez is willing to return for the right amount. Adam Eaton and Doolittle's contracts were picked up by the team. Eaton will get $9.5 million and Doolittle will get $6.5 million. And now for all the guys going into free agency. Rendon, Howie Kendrick, Asdrubal Cabrera, Brian Dozier, Daniel Hudson, Fernando Rodney, Jeremy Hellickson, Johnny Venters, and Gerardo Baby Shark Parra, or Daddy Shark, are all going to free agency. Rendon and the Nationals have tried for a new contract as late as September. The reported amount was 7 years, $210 million, which would be $30 million a year. Arenado gets $32.5 million a year. Rendon's agent is trying to get the Nationals to give at least $35 million a year because he is an NL MVP worthy candidate. Rendon has sarcastically said that he wants to retire at a young age, but his personality is a quiet, cool type of guy, so you really can't tell with him. He's always been like the underdog MVP. No one ever sees him as the MVP until this year when the Nationals made the World Series and now all eyes were on him. But he's always had that MVP style of playing. Whenever I see him playing against the Marlins or any other team, he has that potential. It's just now it's when the eyes are on him compared to every other time. When Bryce Harper was there, he was overshadowed by Bryce. Now that it's him there, he's the position player that leads the team. He's the MVP candidate, and he's the one that everyone wants. So Rendon's agent wanting a bigger contract makes sense. And if the Marlins are able to get him, that would be the best thing because we are in need of a lot of position players, and a third baseman would be a great beginning for us. So who's left on the Nationals? Scherzer, Soto, Suzuki, Corbin, Robles, and a handful of others. They really need to bring some of the guys back. They were a group of MVP worthy guys like Scherzer and Rendon, and a bunch of random players. But that band of misfits made it to the World Series. They did what many thought couldn't happen. They showed that you can't count anyone out, especially if they're playing with emotion, fun, and hard work. They were the biggest underdogs, the oldest team in baseball, and now they could add on World Series champions to that. The Washington Nationals have a lot of work to do to go back to back, but they have showed anything can happen in baseball. Thank you for listening to episode 1 of Anything Can Happen Baseball podcast. This is just the beginning, and I know it wasn't a great first episode, but I hope to grow throughout each episode, and I will have co-hosts and maybe some special guests in the future. Next episode, we will talk about the new manager hirings and how free agency has been going. This is Angel. Thank you for listening to episode 1 of the Anything Can Happen Baseball podcast.